And you did not have a prenup when you got married.
I did not have a prenup. I asked for one, and I was told, Ash, I have known you since we were 20 years old. I've watched you build everything. I would never, ever take that from you.
And boy, was she wrong. Yeah, guys, as you guys know, these are the exact type of stories I like to hear about. And trust me, it's not because I enjoy seeing successful women like this lose half of everything they own. It's really not. Like I've said many times, I truly believe that this is the only way we'll ever see change when it comes to the marriage laws. Unfortunately, for the successful women who enter marriages without any legal protection, without any prenuptial agreements, we need their stories. This is a lot like the Mackenzie Dern, UFC female American professional fighter who's paying alimony as we speak to her ex husband. When these chicks get on camera with titles like "He Took Everything I'd Worked For Since I Was 17," the exclusive Ashley Alexis tell all, people listen. More people listen when chicks are negatively affected by family court. And in this video, we have a multimillionaire woman who lost a lot to her divorce because she wished she got a prenuptial agreement. How do we know? Well, Hello Prenup, it's a service where they actually help you get prenups and they actually draft the prenups. I hear a lot of people have success with their company. It seems like they're very legit. I don't care where you guys get a prenup. If you value marriage today, head over there, check them out. No more wasting time. Let's get it.
And find someone to love me properly because of what I do for work, being a model. And, you know, a lot of my modeling is lingerie based. And I was told like nobody would love me, that, you know, I'm always showing my body. Like I was basically convinced that I was unlovable. So I essentially settled for who was able to love me. I'm not even really sure that I can truly say that, but flash forward to me being 31, and I finally came to terms with I am a child-free by choice woman.
Okay.
And that's something that I've always been very true to, but never spoke it publicly.
Right.
And when I told him, all hell broke loose. And I filed for divorce out of caring for him. I didn't want to waste his time. If he wanted to be a father, he deserved to be a father. And I was punished for it. And I lost everything that I worked for since I was 17. So.
And you did not have a prenup when you got married.
I did not have a prenup. I asked for one, and I was told, Ash, I have known you since we were 20 years old. I've watched you build everything. I would never, ever take that from you.
And boy, was she wrong.
And I trusted him. And I'm not a woman of regrets, but that is definitely something that I do regret. I wish I listened to my intuition.
How did that feel for you, being the one, you know, you met this guy at 20, right?
Yeah, my frontal lobe wasn't fully developed.
But then you had the sensibility to say, I have these assets, I've built this business, this persona, I want to protect all of that with a prenup, but then to be rejected. How did that feel?
A lot of times it felt like, especially in this instance, that I just wasn't heard.
Hold on. That's a good question. How did it feel to be rejected when proposing the prenup? Good question. Let's talk about the sponsor of this channel, fathershaverights.com. Engaged and soon to be married men, a single prenup slip up can cost you tens of thousands later. Waiting until the last minute or signing under pressure are the mistakes that sink most agreements. My step-by-step guide at fathershaverights.com, built with expert attorneys James Sexton and the lead attorney, shows you exactly how to avoid every costly prenup mistake, all for the price of a couple of dinner dates. Tap the link pinned to the top of the comment section to safeguard your future and join the hundreds of soon-to-be husbands protecting their marriages the right way.
I was listened to be responded to. I wasn't being listened to be heard. And it was always kind of, he knew best. He's the man. You know, very societal, like, oh, the man knows everything. The man has the power.
Right.
Well, then why was I taking care of you? Like, isn't the man supposed to take care of his wife? Like, you really want to go down that road? But I was very afraid of my own
Shots fired.
voice. I would hear it in my head, but I couldn't bring myself to say the words. So I kept myself pretty quiet for a while.
It's interesting to have someone who is so publicly confident and so body confident and has this career and has built these companies, but then to feel on the inside in your most personal, intimate of relationships that you don't have a voice.
Yeah, I mean, it's very frustrating when you're in that situation because it's like you're between a rock and a hard place. And a lot of my friends were like, Ash, you need a prenup. I
Right.
mean, I built everything that I have. Like, I didn't come from generational wealth. I didn't come from any type of inheritance. Like, everything that I have, I did it by myself. And they're like, you need to protect that. You need to protect that. Like, yeah, okay. He's a great guy. Although a lot of them didn't actually like him, but they put up with him because, hey, your best friend's in love and wants to get married. Like, you're going to show up for her. But they were like, just protect yourself and protect him too. It's not like a selfish thing. You're protecting the both of you.
True.
And one of the things that I like to say, because people are like, oh, prenups, you're planning the divorce before you're even married. Okay. If you're driving and you wear a seatbelt, you are not wearing a seatbelt with an anticipation to crash. You are wearing a seatbelt in the event that you do crash. And it is the same exact thing.
Yes, the seatbelt analogy. All these analogies, all these, like, if you would get insurance for your life, wouldn't you get insurance for your divorce? It's just like all this stuff never makes sense for a lot of people until they've gone through it. You ever gone through something and understand why certain sayings exist? Like a hard head makes for a soft ass. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, they're just these sayings that you hear growing up over and over again where people are trying to guide you, but it's not until you personally go through it when you realize, like, damn, they were right. Just for fun's sake here, real quick, we're going to talk to our AI assistant barista, Miss Coffee here. Miss Coffee, since I can't think of anything, help me out. What are some common sayings that a lot of people hear growing up when they're younger, but they never understand until they get older? Like, give me like 5 or 6 powerful.
Oh, sweetheart, I got you.
Let's go.
Those sayings that hit different once you've got a little life experience under your belt.
Right.
Here are 6 powerful ones most of us hear as kids, but only really understand later. 1. Time is money. When you're young, it just sounds like something your dad says when you're taking too long to get ready. But as an adult, you realize wasted time can cost you opportunities, income, and peace of mind.
Facts.
2. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. As a kid, maybe it's about losing a toy. As an adult, it's about relationships, health, freedom, or even time with loved ones. It hits hard once you've actually lost something that can't be replaced. 3. What goes around comes around. You grow up thinking it's just a playground threat. Later in life, you see karma really does show up, sometimes quietly but always eventually. 4. Your health is your wealth. As a kid, you feel invincible. As an adult, you realize you can have all the money in the world, but if your body is breaking down, you're broke in the ways that matter most. 5. You are the company you keep. When you're young, it feels like your parents being nosy about your friends.
Right.
But as you get older, you see how much your circle influences your habits, mindset, and even your success.
So true.
6. Don't burn bridges. In school, it sounds like generic advice. As an adult, you realize one soured relationship can cost you jobs, opportunities, and connections years later. The world is smaller than you think. These are the kinds of lines that almost feel cliche when you're young.
Right.
But when you live a little, oh, they're pure wisdom.
So true. And in this situation, here's my word of wisdom to any man today who values marriage. If a woman is ever telling you, because here you saw the example, he looked her dead in the eyes and he said to her, they were in love. He said, hey, I've seen you build this thing. I would never do that to you. You don't know who someone is in most cases in high stress, challenging situations until you've gone through that situation with them. On top of that, you never know who somebody can become. So rather than just risking everything on what comes out of their mouth, protect yourself. Protect yourself. Let's keep listening.
And it's also, if you can't have that conversation of finances and assets and how you want to be able to separate them if something were to go wrong, because life happens, then maybe you shouldn't be marrying that person.
I agree.
Because that's one of the most vulnerable conversations that you can have with your partner.
When you were going through this process of marrying this person, did you feel completely confident in the decision, or did you have any?
No. There were many times where I thought I shouldn't be doing this, but I felt that I had an obligation. And then I remember being a couple of months into the marriage and actually looking up annulment stipulations. And I had confided in a couple people about it, and they were like, marriage is hard, marriage is work, it'll get better.
Right.
And I tried to stick it out, but I was probably the most unhappy I've ever been in my life in that marriage. I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard, I wasn't appreciated, I wasn't respected, I wasn't loved in a way that I feel love, which is through little romance, little gestures. I don't need anything crazy, but flowers every now and again. Like, I mean, my current fiance will get me flowers just because he went to the gym that day. Like, hey, I was thinking of you. And it's the little ways of how they show up for you. Like, to be seen, to be loved is to be seen. And I was not seen in my first marriage.
I'm going to push back a little bit. This is a men's channel, and we notice things that a lot of chicks just like will probably never bring up in a situation. We've seen it plenty of times where they're discussing a relationship. One thing I know is when the relationship is over, it's always very easy for two people to look back and to see where things were wrong, because of course it took work, but it's easier to look back and say, oh, he was terrible to begin with. Oh, it was a horrible situation. But at some point, you love that person. You decided to marry that person. And there's also this. And just so I'm not wrong, I have to make sure. Ms. Coffee, real quick, when it comes to this interview, did she beforehand make it clear to her husband that she did not want kids? I got to know that before I make my next point.
Great catch, love. Let me break this down clearly. She explained that she always knew she was child-free by choice, but she had never spoken about it publicly until later in her marriage. She admitted that by the time she told her husband firmly, I don't want kids, and that's not going to change, it became the breaking point of the marriage. That's when she said all hell broke loose. Did she tell him before marriage? From the way she describes it, she did not make it explicitly clear to him before the marriage.
Right.
She was convinced she might not find love because of her work, lingerie modeling, so she settled. Going into marriage, she was already second-guessing whether he was the right person. But she hadn't directly said, I will never want children. She even mentions how often she was told, you'll change your mind, you'll grow out of it, which made her second-guess herself and stay quiet. Bottom line, it wasn't a total surprise to her. She always knew internally. But for him, it sounds like it was a shock when she finally put her foot down and said she was child-free. That's why she framed it as the last straw. She felt she had to free him so he could have the family life he wanted, while also being true to herself. So yes, she alluded to the fact that she always knew it inside, but she didn't make it explicit before marriage. And that's what made the revelation so explosive later.
And I think most of you know where I'm going with this, right? It is devastating to a man who wants marriage, because men typically do not just get married just to get married. They get married because they want to have babies and they want their legacy to live on. That's very important to men. It's in a man's nature to want to plant his seed and his seed to sprout and his legacy to keep going. And so I'm not trying to defend this guy as a great man. I know he cheated a bunch of times. You guys know how I look at cheating. I think, yes, many women forgive it and people can work through it. At that point, I believe it's anybody's right to leave that relationship. But yes, she does talk about dealing with cheating. We don't know if they were both cheating on each other. We don't know, right? But I would say this, as a man who values having children within a family, to hear later on that, like, you know what, I changed my mind about that thing, that's devastating to a man who values that. I can see that being difficult to deal with. What's surprising to me is she decided to initiate this divorce, and maybe she knew she could take on the damage, the financial damage that will come after it. But she obviously saw the marriage as not being worth continuing. But to any man who values having kids, finding out that the woman who I'm married to, who I love, doesn't want to have children and continue my legacy, that's terrible. That's terrible news. What do you guys think? Comment down below.
Tell me a little bit about the what you were looking to protect. I want to capture kind of the gravity of the why a prenup was so important for you in that situation.
Yeah. So I have been a big person on creating a savings since I was 11 years old. So I would always put a certain percentage of paychecks or, jobs or whatever that I would do into that account. So that was like the big one. Like, obviously, like I want to be able to buy nice things. I have very expensive taste. But we owned 2 homes, and we had cars and dogs and stocks and bonds and crypto. I
Ooh,
mean, you name it, I had it. And
and he got half, unfortunately.
I miss it. But, I'm
At least that's what I think. I may be wrong here. My bad, guys. I keep pausing it.
sometimes you got to go through really, really hard shit to learn. I wanted to protect myself as a business, being a model. I myself in my own business, but then I also had created a business called Alexis Swimwear. And Alexis Swimwear was the most inclusive USA made swimwear brand. We went from an A cup to an L, and went from a small to a 6X. And that's probably one of the proudest things that I've ever done, because I was able to really make women feel confident and comfortable and sexy. And every day I would wake up to tons of messages and stuff. Just, oh, thank you so much for creating this. It was out of this world. So I really wanted to protect that. That was my baby. It became a multi-million dollar business in about 2 years. Like, I was so proud of that. I built it from the ground up. I did everything from design to marketing to customer care to
Wow.
inventory. I mean, I was a one-stop shop. Yes, my ex-husband helped a lot in the process. Granted, he didn't really have much of a choice. Like, we are a team,
Right.
but that's something that I knew that I wanted to protect when we started talking about prenups. Because I created that business 3 years before we got married. And I mean, it was a baby to me. You want to protect the baby.
What happened in the divorce?
Oof. So the divorce was, when I tell this story, like, I feel like your head is going to explode. This is like the first time that I'm actually talking about it. So we separated in August of 2021. I moved back to LA, and we had a conversation where we were going to try to work things out, but I was like, I still don't want kids. That's not going to change.
Mm.
And he was just not putting in effort. And I was like, what am I doing? And I had said something along the lines of like, this is causing me a lot of depression. And he said, well, it's really hard to love you if you can't love yourself. And the next morning I filed for divorce. So I submitted everything within 3 weeks, all the discovery, everything, all the financial documents, had them put in touch with my accountant, you name it, everything was sent. I was like, let's freaking go. A week after all my documents were sent in, he still hadn't sent in a lick of information. I got an email from my lawyer. He wanted alimony.
Damn.
Court and lawyer fees paid for.
Damn.
And he wanted me to go through everything that I had purchased, over $500, list it, what I purchased it for, and what it was currently worth, because he wanted half. And
keep in mind, this is somebody who promised to never do the very thing they are doing. Listen, men go through this a lot more. How many men get talked out of prenups, man? And by the way, you guys should know, some of you guys have noticed that, like, she's obviously lost a lot of weight, but it seems like to me, because I didn't really know her that well, I had to do a bit of research myself, is that she was some type of like plus size model. But you hear her talk, and if you go to her Instagram page right here, you can see that this chick has pretty much gone through the typical millionaire, billionaire upgrade experience when it comes to build a business. Like, this is the Jeff Bezos. Of course, I understand she's not a billionaire, but build the business with the significant other who looks like just a local guy who you grew up with. And then once it gets really big, you guys go through divorce and you upgrade your your significant other to someone who most people would call more attractive. Um, Here she is. She lost the weight. I wouldn't put it past the fact that she probably got some work done. You know, like Jeff Bezos. You know, you look at pictures of him when he was coming up and his wife, and you see he's with like the Sanchez chick now. Definitely could not have gotten that when he was Jeff Bezos balding. But now she's like, hey, this is my true love. It should all work out. I mean, we'll see. I wish her the best. I wish anybody the best who decides to enter and remarry. At the end of the day, I just hope people are protecting themselves, right?
I snapped, full crash out, because I had to leave this beautiful home that I put most of the money into, renovated it, made it our dream home, and it was almost paid off. And I left that to move to LA, and I had to buy everything new. You're telling me I have to go through everything that I just purchased to have a home that I'm proud of, what it's worth, because you want half? How does that make sense? So I was pissed, and I really just felt taken advantage of. I gave him a wonderful life. I took him around the world 20 times in business class to the most exotic places in the world. And, you know, I always listened to him about things that would make his life better. For instance, like for his job, you know, he's always having to book appointments and stuff like that. So for Christmas one year, I bought him a Tesla. And so this way he could work while having, you know, no hands on the wheel.
She's like, I tricked on this man. She's talking about her ex-husband like rappers talk about women they trick on. I give him a good life. You know, bought him whatever he wanted, bought him a Tesla. He had no reason to complain. I hope you guys caught that he asked for his attorney's fees paid for. That's something that you can protect yourself from. You're pretty much now fueling the person who is fighting you in court. And in a prenup, you could say, no, we're not going to cover attorney's fees. And you're not going to depend on my funds to fight me. Guys, listen.
And you know what I got for that Christmas?
What'd you get?
Now, let me forefront for this. And I don't know if you're going to like this or not, but I'm a very left-leaning liberal human being. I do not like guns. Everybody who knows me knows I do not like guns. For Christmas that year, I got a pink gun. Talk about not hearing me. And it was interesting because right before he gave it to me, he said, I don't know if you're going to like this. That was my big gift. I got you a car. You got me a gun. Granted, I don't need something luxurious, but it was almost insulting because I'm like, you're not hearing me. I should have actually asked for that in the divorce. But anyways, you know, we get further into it, and he was just dragging his feet. He would not submit his stuff. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm paying out, you know, 40,000, 50,000, like just keeps going because I'm having to pay every time I'm asking my lawyer to reach out to his lawyer. I go to Pennsylvania for a court date, and we are in front of a judge, and we saw his taxes finally. And what he claimed he made was insane to me. And the judge even said, so this is what we're dealing with. And they were asking for $1 million check from me. I was like, in that moment.
Sounds about right.
I would say was the most hurtful out of the 11 years because it made me feel like I wasn't a human being. It made me feel like I was a cash cow and that I was an object. And I was just someone to potentially give him a baby. And that's all that I was seen for. And luckily, you know, we were able to push aside the check and whatnot. But fast forward, now we're 2 years into the divorce. Still no movement. Like, we're going back and forth. Nothing's working. And I'm just like, my head is going to explode. My dad got really, really sick. My dad had cancer. And he started to not finally, but he started to go down.
Oh, no.
And I emailed my lawyer and I said, hey, listen, I need some time. I don't want to be focused on this. I want to be focused on my dad. Granted, one of the biggest driving forces for me for this divorce was to get it done before my dad died, because I wanted him to pass knowing that his little girl was okay. Because he was so furious. He was so angry at this. And my dad passed, and I was being harassed by him and his lawyer, being told that I need to respond, that I am causing prejudice against him by not responding. I'm like, my dad is literally dying. A month after my dad died, I got an email. I had 48 hours to respond to their offer, or they were taking me to court. At that point, I was just withered away. I didn't do what I intended to do, which was have it done before my dad died. I didn't care anymore. Okay, I built it once, I can build it again. And I just said, okay.
Wow.
And I think that speaks volumes as to who he is. He has since said it was all his lawyer, it wasn't him. But anyone who knows lawyers, you have to talk to your client before you are talking to the opposing party. So it is what it is. I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I still believe in love. Just with a prenup.
And that's that. Yeah, man. You know, I know that in the comments, you know, obviously people are going to go hard when it comes to how they view her situation and her. But the bottom line is truly you don't know anybody in life until you go through a situation and experience that you've never seen them in. And the best you can do is hope that they stick to the principles that they claim to uphold, the values they claim to uphold, right? What are the values in that person's life? You should take that very seriously. And sometimes people go against those values, right? They may claim to, let's say, be a very good person. And it's like, what is that anchored on? Is it anchored on a belief of you being a good person? Or if it's just you, then your feelings kind of direct your behavior. Is it your upbringing? And I say this to say, because you hear people say you never know anybody until you're going through a difficult time. Well, what about people who never go through that divorce? Well, they probably go through other difficult times when crisis reveals character. I think it's very important to ask somebody, what do you believe when your back is against the wall? Was he wrong for taking half? You might say yes, because he said that he would not. Well, were other women wrong for taking half? And this is where, you know, people want to say, well, hold on, she's a woman. Come on. Does it work both ways? Because we know the chicks have no trouble taking half. What about the plenty of men who've been gone through heartache and they're going homeless and they're struggling and they have child support? Here they did not have children, right? They're going homeless, some men deleting themselves, ending their own lives based on the pressure that they're going through. Maybe you can say some women didn't say they weren't going to take half, but in those vows, did they promise to death do them part, through sickness and health, no matter what? But then they broke that vow just to be happy. It gets deep. The best thing you can do, pray for the best, be your best, and protect yourself, and the rest, leave up to God, is my opinion. Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.